Job skills for the multiply handicapped deaf-blind student don't just happen. The skills are a function of a carefully structured program, and it may have taken a decade and a half to prepare them for the range of placements they'll be able to fill after graduation from school. Because of the severity of the combination of deafness and blindness, it's not realistic to expect that the last year or two of their schooling can be devoted to a full-time vocational program that will suddenly give them job skills that will allow them to compete on the open job market. The preparation for eventual career placement for the deaf-blind must begin in early childhood. Strategies must be determined early to make the best use of a student's intact senses, residual vision and hearing, the sense of touch. The young child must develop job skills concurrently with concepts, language, and social skills. A deaf-blind population comprises 4 levels as far as vocational placement is concerned: self-sufficient, partly self-sufficient, sheltered workshop clients, and dependent. A pre-career program must realistically take these groups into account and be structured both vocationally and academically to give the students in the program an appropriate balance of both the academic and career skills they'll need to function well in their eventual placement. When a program has wide enough scope for each level of the population, students in the program have the chance to outgrow expectations that were in the beginning too low. There may even be some surprises in store. The long-range conception of the pre-career program was that basic activities could lead to simple crafts. These craft skills, in turn, could lead to advanced crafts and basic tool use. The pre-sheltered workshop activities would bring a student to on-the-job training at a sheltered location or semi-competitive job, and it would be followed by post-training placement and ongoing follow-up. It was obvious early on that a dichotomy of either vocational training or academic training was not going to fit the long-term needs of the deaf-blind. Because of the greater time required for them to learn the skills, they must be taught vocational skills and an individualized measure of academics concurrently, each interlocked into the other, so that each child would be able to master a range of basic academic skills. Speech, language, and communication were taught on the job as well as in class. The two could not be separated if success were to be expected for both. Activities in the pre-sheltered workshop simulated tasks in sheltered workshops throughout the Bay Area. Initially, the activities were not graded according to level of difficulty. All were very simple in nature. The criteria for the pre-sheltered workshop activities were the activity had to be safe, the activity had to be within the physical and mental ability of the students. There had to be a long-term source of very cheap materials. The activity had to be of a repetitive nature. A useful product was desirable, but not an important outcome of the activity. A major consideration of the workshop was that each task made the student more flexible for the next training situation. Once every 2 weeks, the students rode public transportation to one of the several sheltered workshops in the San Francisco Bay Area. There they learned tasks, sequences, and routines at actual workstations. They developed their skills, work tolerance, and stamina on the job. The pre-career teachers accompanied their students and worked beside them in the shops, teaching them the language and communication skills needed along the way. From the moment each student was incorporated into the program, each was paid. Even as they were learning job skills, they were learning to fill out time cards individually designed to fit their own level of understanding. On payday, each teacher in the program covered the concepts of money, time, and pay. The concept of pay for work was not completely understood by each child. What many did understand was that they could use the quarters in the Coke machine. This became an extremely powerful motivator for some students. Money itself may not have been the prime motivator, but going someplace to buy something certainly was. Money became a key to providing the purpose to use public transportation, to go to the bank, to use those hard-won communication skills within the community. Money and all that it linked together made the community a comfortable place for many students. As they learned new tasks or improved their skills on old jobs, they received pay increments and the congratulations and status and pride that went along with it. It became clear early in the program that before students could fit into standard jobs, jobs could be designed to fit their own existing skills, yet with potential to teach a great many additional skills that would complement them. The students could deliver things from classroom to classroom, teacher to teacher, but had to learn to tell time, learn the sequence of rooms, the purpose of the task, and gradually incorporate communication skills into the job. The jobs of letter carrier, which took school correspondence to the local mailbox, and interdepartmental messenger, later developed into far more sophisticated jobs, such as attendance taker. Skills in finger spelling, braille, slate and stylus, typing and mobility were incorporated as the students developed these skills on the job. A job often began fitting the needs or current skill level of one student. He or she often outgrew it, moved on, yet passed on that job to a younger student. Often the older student taught the skills to a younger worker. Peer teaching added a whole dimension to the use of the students' communication skills and their own confidence. The first years of the pre-career program combined 5 periods a week of workshop activities with a varying balance of manipulative and academic work suited to the individual needs of each student. The real emphasis on the classroom segment was concept development and individualized work in language and communication. The afternoons were spent in the infirmary on campus, learning to do simple cleaning tasks like wiping tables. This core skill, with very minor modifications, proved to be transferable to a wide variety of jobs in vastly different locations. Each job had a distinctive uniform to emphasize the different behavior and role required, to separate it from the classroom work. The concepts formed early in a student's training of going from a place for a purpose at a particular time, doing a task for a specific length of time, then returning, lay a solid groundwork for useful flexibility later on. Although working in the infirmary began with simple cleaning tasks, it later developed into an important facet of the program. Stripping beds and doing laundry led to folding and sorting laundry, putting it away, and then to actually making beds. The students learned to do dishes and set up trays for lunch, and the scrupulous cleanliness that went along with these jobs. Cleaning skills now included bathrooms, bedroom furniture, cleaning the doctor's office, and sterilizing the instruments for the doctor and dentist for the daily clinics. Each of the core skills of the hospital was capable of expanding into other areas. The laundry skills, for example, came in useful for doing towels and drapes at a local beauty shop. The experience cleaning tables in the school dining room was a core skill that later enabled the students to work well in a restaurant. Even taking out the garbage was a task that was required in a number of jobs. A thorough utilization of opportunities available on the school site turned out to be a key to developing a broad-based, multifaceted program able to provide instruction in many basic, transferable skills. There are many areas within existing programs where some of the older students can fit in on a part-time basis and where job placement can be carried out. The position of assistant teacher's aide and experience in child care realistically prepared some students for skills they would later be able to use in a wide variety of later placements. Group homes, recreational and developmental centers, even schools with special programs could utilize skills developed as an assistant teacher's aide. For some of our students, this placement also provided the opportunity to develop the ability to make judgments and decisions, to take on increasing amounts of responsibility, and to become aware of the needs of others. Working with younger children, our older pre-career students could experience affective as well as cognitive growth. Each campus has a need for grounds maintenance, and many of the jobs involved are repetitive and time-consuming. Jobs such as trimming hedges and sweeping, which have to be done constantly, can often be delegated to students in the pre-career program and provide the opportunity for training and skill development. The areas of food, storekeeping, custodial and maintenance services provide a fertile potential for possible job training or part-time on-campus placement. Various forms of receptive and expressive communication skills, individually tailored to the needs of each student, form the backbone of the academic aspects of the program. The student must be able to understand and communicate needs and moods, as well as be able to demonstrate interest in a job and satisfaction at doing that job well. The pre-career teacher must not only evolve a means of communication to teach the student language and broaden concept development, but a means to communicate the needs and strategies of the program to other specialty teachers, volunteers, and employers throughout the community. Speech teachers, physiotherapists, mobility instructors, all have something to add to the students' understanding of themselves and their unique capabilities. They need to become involved. With the assistance of the pre-career teachers, other personnel involved with the program must learn to communicate with the students. These avenues of communication vary. It may range from something as simple as symbol cards or finger spelling, or some form of limited or modified speech or sign language, even to gesture and mime. Many of the students had a special need for individualized speech instruction. The coordinator of the pre-career program worked individually with the students to build forms of communication which would be the primary access channels for concept development and other forms of communication that would be useful with the general public with no special training in communication with the deaf-blind. 3 mornings each week, groups of students worked in body language, movement and mime to act out work sequences and link them with sign and gesture, drawing, writing, and speech. The pre-career program was enriched with visits to parks, museums, art galleries, airports, boat and train trips, public transportation practice, visits to sheltered workshops, factories and farms. Each student's day had elements of recreation and movement, structured and unstructured play, occasionally a few moments of being silly thrown in, just for fun. Perhaps programs aren't as much set up as they evolve. A student's interests, needs, capabilities, and potential often determine the direction of some aspects of the program. What began as simple sorting and manipulative tasks, which developed a highly sensitive tactile skill, can sometimes lead to more detailed work later on. Highly developed tactile skills alone will not provide assurance of later vocational success. The student must also have developed a work tolerance, an ability to deal with schedules and routines, and satisfactory social and communication skills to be able to deal with people on the job. Our students may eventually have to fit into a placement on very short notice and not only have sufficient vocational skills to learn a job quickly and successfully, but a personality to be able to deal with people on the job. Even the best of programs cannot cover every possibility, but with a broad-based program that has taught an appreciation of work and a confidence in their skills, many students can find work in competitive settings under certain conditions. 2 students were taken on trial by McDonald's for a period of 30 days. During that time, a teacher accompanied them and worked beside them, teaching food preparation and cleaning tasks. In every instance, there was some way found to overcome limitations of low vision and lack of hearing. Although totally blind, deaf students would not be able to work in this type of placement, many deafblind students will have sufficient residual vision to afford them a wide variety of placements. Because a pre-career teacher was there, working beside the students, teaching and monitoring their skills, relating those skills to concepts the students understood from prior experience, these students succeeded in this placement.
I think that probably the easiest way to go about starting this type of program in another industry or with another employer or with another corporation would be for them to simply go out, meet an owner or a vice president of operations for a corporation or company and say to them, look, we have these kids available to work. We don't expect you to train them. In fact, we probably don't even expect you to take a chance on having to pay them initially. What we would like to do is start an internship in your store. Our insurance will totally cover these kids. We will have someone in there to train them. And then if it works out well and you're interested in hiring them on after 3 months as permanent employees, then we'll go ahead and work from there. But the most important thing is that a qualified instructor goes along with these kids.
If a person was resourceful and let their imagination be their guide, there are any number of different businesses, merchants, service agencies that could use these people's talents.
It may be more effective in the long run not to emphasize a student's potential, but to be honest about deficiencies and point out certain weak areas, yet at the same time work with the manager or employees to give them the capabilities to help the child develop those needed skills. When success comes, and it will because the teacher is also working on teaching those skills, the credit goes to the employee at the work site who worked with the student. Surprisingly, it was sometimes the student's attitude about the job that ensured placement, not simply the level of their job skills. If a student had a positive attitude toward the job, employees and managers would work with the students to bring their skills to acceptable levels. Once a student was hired and could do a job well, another student might be introduced for one period a week. The new student would be a substitute on short notice and train as an eventual replacement. Sometimes several months were needed to learn the various aspects of the job. The newcomer was supposed to work free during that period, but it was usually impossible to convince the employers not to pay them. A vocational placement is not just an event, it's a process. A lot of time is required, many people are involved, and each one of them has to know and believe that for each one of these students who happen to be deaf and blind, there is a place.